Hey everybody, I'm Jamie Sandmore, and this is the Main Morgue. I just want to jump right in this week and talk about the amazing weekend of pro wrestling that just concluded with WWE SummerSlam. First up, I want to talk about ROH's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, which was Friday night. An amazing show, top to bottom. There wasn't really a match that disappointed all night. So many highlights. And I know I'll forget some things that happened, but the things that stood out to me were Bobby Fish retaining the ROH World Television Championship over Mark Briscoe, Hangman Page defeating Jay Briscoe in a no DQ match. And what I remember about that match, along with all the amazing action in that match, was when Adam Page, or Hangman Page, went to do his finishing move on the table. He crashed through the table with Jay Briscoe. I'll get to Jay Lethal in a few minutes. He actually took a chunk out of his calf, and it bled for the whole match. And it actually looked like a piece of the table was driven into his shin. And it was gross. It was exciting. It was amazing all at the same time. And he still finished the match. The highlight of the night had to be Adam Cole, baby, is the new Ring of Honor World Champion, having defeated Jay Lethal, ending his 400-plus day run as ROH World Champion. Bullet Club, add more gold to the group, baby. Was an amazing night. I was so fucking excited going into NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2 Saturday night, just off the high of Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. So next up, I am going to talk about TakeOver Brooklyn 2, which happened Saturday night from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Another amazing show. I really love NXT for the same reason I love Ring of Honor. They leave it all in the ring. The card was stacked from top to bottom. Bobby Roode, who is a two-time former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, made his long-awaited NXT debut. Austin Aries picked up an impressive win. And the biggest news coming out of NXT TakeOver was that Shinsuke Nakamura is the new NXT champion after defeating Samoa Joe in just an amazing, fucking brutal match. That match and Ring of Honor show made me proud to be a professional wrestling fan. I've never shied away from that, and I never will. I know talking wrestling on the show doesn't really come across very well to some listeners, but pro wrestling is a huge part of my life, just like filmmaking, just like writing. Of course, last night we wrapped up the weekend with WWE SummerSlam. And it's nights like last night, like I said, that make me proud that I'm a wrestling fan. Finn Balor defeated Seth Rollins to become the first ever Universal Champion. I mean, we found out tonight on Raw that Finn Balor, and I'm recording this on a Monday night, so actually very early Tuesday morning, so we found out on Raw Monday that Finn Balor actually tore his labrum in his shoulder and had to forfeit the Universal Championship, which is heartbreaking for me because I'm a huge Finn Balor fan. I knew who Finn Balor was before he came to the WWE, before he became NXT, before he became NXT champion. Way before he signed with NXT, he was Prince Devitt in New Japan. He's a former three-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion and a former leader of the Bullet Club. Also at SummerSlam Sunday night, we saw the New Day cheating to beat the Club, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which, don't get me wrong, New Day is a great act. They're great performers in the ring, but I don't understand the psychology of having the quote-unquote baby faces cheat and get themselves intentionally disqualified in a big profile match like that. I mean, on Raw, I guess I could understand it, I could see it, but on pay-per-view, when you've hyped the match and you've hyped the fact that one third of the New Day is not going to be at SummerSlam, and then all of a sudden he comes out at SummerSlam and causes the DQ, it is what it is. I was disappointed with that nonetheless because I'm a huge fan of the Club, the Bullet Club. For those of you that don't know, the Club in the WWE is a shout out to the New Japan faction, the Bullet Club. I'll get to that in the next few minutes. AJ Styles cleanly beat John Cena on pay-per-view at SummerSlam, which I thought was huge. And I thought it was going to go the other way. I completely did. And probably perhaps the weirdest thing that happened this weekend, and it happened at SummerSlam, was Brock Lesnar defeating Randy Orton via TKO, which for those of you that don't know is a technical knockout. Since when does WWE recognize a TKO? It's like in the Universal title match. Finn Balor was going for a rope break, and the commentators were like, oh, there's no rope break, there's no DQ. Okay, if there's no countouts and no DQs, don't you think you should tell the fucking audience that before the match starts? Before the Brock Lesnar match, shouldn't you have fucking informed the fucking audience that the match can end by TKO or knockout? I mean, seriously? It's lapses like this that I'm just like, why the fuck didn't you tell? That's an important piece of information. But anyways, I mean, all in all, it was a great show, a fucking amazing weekend for professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I don't care what you call it. Sports entertainment is WWE and NXT. Professional wrestling is Ring of Honor. I mean, it is what it is. It's entertainment, and it was all fucking amazing this weekend. And now I'm going to take this opportunity to answer 3 wrestling questions that I've been getting from fans since I started this podcast. Number 1, this is the number 1 question I get asked. Why do you do the Bullet Club hand sign in your profile picture on your Facebook page? 'Cause I'm Bullet Club all the way, baby. Bullet Club is the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, who else? There's a Japanese guy that I can never fucking say his name. Adam Cole is a member of the Bullet Club. He's the brand new Ring of Honor World Champion. Haku's 2 sons, I can't remember what they call themselves, but I know they're members of the Bullet Club. I don't see them very often. I've seen them on TV, on ROH TV a couple times, but I can never remember their names. But I use the Bullet Club hand sign in my profile picture because I love Bullet Club. I love Finn Balor. I love AJ Styles. And I want to take a second, and this segment is running long, and I apologize for that. I want to take a second to say a huge congratulations to Kenny Omega, who won the prestigious G1 Climax tournament last weekend. And it's such a big deal because he's the first Westerner to ever win that tournament. First Canadian-born wrestler to ever win it. So that's a huge deal, not just for fans of the Bullet Club, not just for Kenny Omega, but for wrestling fans. That's a piece of history. Second question, where does my love of wrestling come from? And people don't believe me when I say this, but I went to my first wrestling show when I was 2 months old. I was born in Columbus, Georgia, and back in the late 70s, wrestling ran on holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, all those. I went to my first show when I was 2 months old. It was a Thanksgiving show, and it was, I believe, Mid-Atlantic or Georgia Championship Wrestling, I believe my mother said. So I was poisoned at birth, and my mother hates it when I say that, so sorry, Mom, but it's your fault. I'm a pro wrestling fan, you and Dad. And I just loved it. From the time I was a little kid, I think I can remember going to the Portland Expo with my uncle and my grandfather and my father, seeing Andre the Giant and Hillbilly Jim. And I went with my aunt one time when I was, Christ, I must have been like 8 or 9, maybe 10. And Hillbilly Jim high-fived me because we were sitting ringside, and he won a battle royal that night, and it was like the fucking coolest thing, and I was hooked, you know, and I just love it. It's entertaining, it's theatrical, it's fun to do, and I wrestled for 25 years, from the time I was 10 years old, so I just love the sport. Last question that I get asked all the time about wrestling, can you name your top 5 current wrestlers? Okay, here we go, in no specific order. AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, Carl Anderson, Adam Cole, and I'm going to do 6. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. I'm a huge Bobby Fish fan. I love the team of Red Dragon. I love Bullet Club. As you can tell, most of those members, most of that 5 or 6 are either current or former members of the Bullet Club. So I'm going to wrap this segment up. I'm going to take a short break. You're listening to the Main Morgue. Hey everybody, this is the Main Morgue. My name is Jamie Santamore, and what I'm here to talk about during this little commercial break is the Main Morgue needs your help to get better. In order to do this, we have started a GoFundMe page. The address is gofundme.com/themainemorgue. We are looking to raise $300 to get better equipment to do the podcast with, and hopefully get some green screen equipment and be able to do different things with the show and make it a video podcast as well as the audio. I would love to do one segment a week with video. To make that happen, I need your help. So please donate to the Main Morgue. GoFundMe.com/themainemorgue. And thank you so much for your continued support with the Main Morgue. Welcome back. This week, segment 2 is going to be a new segment called Movie Talk. This week, I'm going to talk about Batman 1989. I absolutely love this movie. I watch this movie once or twice a year because I really enjoy the story and the characters. Of Michael Keaton's Batman and Jack Nicholson's Joker. I watched it Sunday night after I watched SummerSlam, and I have to say, I enjoy this movie on so many levels. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to be like, oh no, Christian Bale's the best Batman, and no, Ben Affleck, no, Adam West. For me, Michael Keaton's Batman was better, and he really delivered in this performance. And that's not to say that Bale didn't deliver, not to say Ben Affleck didn't deliver, because Ben Affleck delivered, as well as Christian Bale. He delivered in the Dark Knight trilogy. But I look at it like this. Every person that's played Batman has played a different Batman. And what I mean by that is, in Batman Begins, the beginning of the Christian Bale Batman, he's just becoming Batman. And then through that trilogy, you see the arc of the Batman character. In Batman 1989, the 1989 version of Batman, he was new at Batman, but was building the lore of the Batman, if that makes any sense. And of course, we all know that in Batman v Superman, and Christ, I'm talking about this movie again on this show, Ben Affleck's Batman was a older, more weathered, more weary, more grizzled Batman. For my money, the original trilogy, the original Batman series kind of died off after Batman Returns, when they replaced Michael Keaton for the third, fourth, and fifth Batman, right? I can't remember now. It lost something, and them changing Batman, I think, was a way to show that the character was aging and that kind of thing. I think that's what was implied, but never really said publicly. And I just think it was just too convoluted at the end. And that's why they redid Batman with the Nolan trilogy. And I'm going to try to talk about, Hollywood movies, at least one segment a week, because I think it's important, because it's what I love the most currently. And, feel free to disagree with my opinion, and even feel free to tell me about it in the comment section here on YouTube, or on my website, wickedcarnivalproductions.com, or you can email me directly at themainemorgue@gmail.com. I'm going to take a break, and I'll be right back. You are listening to the Main Morgue. Do you have screens that need repair? Call John Screen Repair at 207-650-1767, or reach out to them by email, cubman428@yahoo.com. They do screen doors, window screens, sliding screen doors, you name it, they can fix it. Once again, that's John Screen Repair, 207-650-1767. Hey, welcome back. Segment 3 this week is going to be talking about the difference between working on a web series versus working on a feature film. Now, as many of you know, I've completed 2 feature films so far, and I love the challenges that come along with feature films and how they're developed and how they're made and all the things that go into it, casting, writing, directing, producing, acting. Acting was something that I just kind of fell into with Rise of Mortis, and it just happened. So, and I kept I kept the character around for Vengeance, and he actually makes a very large he's actually a large contributing factor to Tribulation, which you'll see next year. But recently, and actually probably maybe, I want to say in February, I started working on a web series, which is going to be a lead-in or a prequel to a feature film that I already have written. And I thought it would be pretty cool to lead into a feature film with a web series. So I started fiddling with the idea, and I realized very quickly that it's very difficult to write a web series when you're so used to writing feature films. Feature films are 90 minutes to 120 minutes, and you have all that time to do your character intros, your character development, your story, your kills, all that stuff. Whereas a web series, the episodes are very small, and that was one thing I had to determine. And I have decided that each episode is going to be 16 to 20 minutes long. They're going to be 10 episodes, and the only episodes that are allowed to break that 20-minute time limit are the mid-season finale, which would be episode 5, the first episode of the second half of the season, which would be episode 6, and the season finale, because I want to make sure I am able to get as much as I can in to lead into the feature film. This is all my framework of the series and how it's going to play out. I'm writing it, and I don't necessarily know right now if I will direct all of the episodes or if I will hand directing off to Chris Fife again. We'll see how we all feel about it. I'd even like to see some of the cast members that I've worked with in the Sins of Man trilogy, if they're willing to and if they want to take the challenge of directing some of the episodes, because I think that would be cool. Because they all know what I like and they all know what I'm looking for. I've been hinting that I already know what the next project's going to be after we complete the Sins of Man trilogy in 2017 with Sins of Man 3 Tribulation. And it's probably going to be this web series, because I already have the script written for the feature film. It just needs to be tidied up a little bit. So that'll probably be the next project, the web series, because I already have 6.5 episodes written, and I love writing it, but it's a challenge because, like today, I was working on episode 7, and I kind of got stuck because there were characters that haven't been in an episode or two, so you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do with these characters? I got to throw them in here somehow. I mean, they're not dead yet, and the characters I wasn't writing about right now, don't die. So I'm like, well, they got to get in there somehow. So I kind of threw them in there in a couple of scenes just so my audience will know that they're still there and so forth. And I find it interesting that when I'm writing a feature film, I don't have that problem because I write down everything. And when I wrote the way I did it originally was I wrote episodes 1 through 5. I wrote an outline of, how I'm going to introduce each character, who's going to die, how they're going to die, who the killer was, and I worked within that frame to write the first 5 episodes in like 5 days. And then I took a long break from it while I was working on Sins of Man 2 Vengeance. And then I just picked it up. Earlier this week on Facebook, I actually said that I'm juggling 3 projects right now, which is, I'm still waiting for confirmation that the Tribulation script is a go from my director and my business partner, Chris Fife. I'm working on the web series, and I'm working on the very early draft of the sci-fi movie, which is probably going to come out in 2020. So I've got 3 things that I'm working on right now, and I find it very difficult to go from one project to the next. So I'm going to work on the web series exclusively until I get all 10 episodes written. And I have to figure out how I'm going to tie it into the next project, the movie. So there's going to have to be a small, probably medium-sized rewrite to the next project, that feature film, which I'm not going to release what it is right now because I don't want to get fans all excited in case something happens and we can't make the feature film. Anyways, I'm rambling again. I do that often for people that have listened to all 7 episodes of the show. You know I ramble a lot. I'm not going to apologize for that. So, writing a web series for me is not only more challenging, but it's also a lot more fun because I have less time to play with and just as much information to get out there in the actual product. It's fun, it's interesting, it's cool. I really enjoy it, and part of me wants to say, you know what, I could make web series for the rest of my career and be happy. But my thing is, I said to somebody, I go, well, once you put the series out on the web, is it like bad form to still release it on DVD? Because I'm a DVD guy myself, DVD, Blu-ray. And somebody goes, I don't know, they release TV shows on DVD, so why couldn't you release a web series? I go, I don't know. So if anybody knows the answer to that question that listens to this show, please get at me and let me know, because I would really like to do this web series, this 10-episode web series, and release it on DVD afterwards as a tie-in to the next movie. So if anybody out there knows that information or wants to give their opinion, feel free to contact me. I'm going to take a short break. You're listening to the Main Morgue, and we have a new ad popping up this week. So enjoy it, and I will be back with segment 4. Welcome back to the Main Morgue. I am your host, Jamie Santamore. Segment 2 this week is going to be centered around the announcement I made last week on cinemamovie.com and on YouTube. The video basically divulged to the world that I would be officially stepping down as director of Sins of Man 3 Tribulation, which is our final film in the Sins of Man trilogy. And there are a few reasons that I decided to step down. Mainly because I wanted to create the best possible movie with the resources we have available to us. And the best way for me to do that is to concentrate on the storytelling and the writing of the script. And I want to be 100% clear with everybody. I was not forced out by anyone. This was a decision that I came to on my own after conversing with the person I selected to take my place as director. And I laugh whenever people email me and ask me if I was booted from the project. Because I am the owner and the founder of Wicked Carnival Productions. Sins of Man is my screenplay, my idea, so who exactly would force me off the project? I mean, it's my own project. And it's comical when you stop and think about it that way. I made this choice because it is what is best for business, it is what is best for the project and the franchise. And I'm leaving the directing up to a much more qualified person, that being Chris Fife, who is my executive producer on the first 2 movies, my cameraman, my audio guy, my sound guy, my music man. He does so much behind the scenes that I think he will do a much better job than I can as the director of Sins of Man 3 Tribulation. Now, I'm not walking away from the project completely. As I stated in the announcement, I'm writing the script. I'm staying on as script supervisor, so I will be there on set every day. And I'm staying on as a producer, so I will have somewhat of creative influence on the project. And Chris and I get along amazingly, so I don't think there will be any issues whatsoever with us having conversations on set. I don't think it'll get heated at all. And I think he's going to deliver an amazing film. I'm 100% sure that he can do this. And I know he's going to make an awesome film to finish off the Sins of Man trilogy. I'll be right back after a word from another one of our sponsors. You're watching The Main Morgue. Welcome back. I want to talk to you guys a little bit this week about writing as an actor and directing as a writer. You know, since I decided to step down as the director of Sins of Man 3 Tribulation, I've had a lot of time to think about how much easier and simpler it's going to be for me to simply write the script and not worry about directing the scenes, especially the ones that I'm in. And I'll go back all the way to the beginning with Rise of Mortis and how I was thrust into the role of Victor Barclay. Victor Barclay originally was supposed to be a one-scene cameo by the director, as if I was Wes Craven. Wes Craven always appeared in his movies in a small little cameo, and it comes to mind he was the janitor in Scream, and I kind of wanted to do that. Originally, Victor Barclay was supposed to be the crime scene photographer, and that was it. I was going to be seen in like 1 or 2 scenes, and that was it. Things behind the scenes changed, so we needed somebody to play a bigger role, and I said, well, I'm not going to shut down production because we've all worked hard for the first 2 weeks, so I'll just take the role and we'll do it on the fly. So I did that, and then it came time to start working on Sins of Man 2 Vengeance, and were we going to kill off my character? Were we going to change the character? What were we going to do? Were we just going to say he went off and left, or went off and did his own thing, or whatever? So I decided that Victor was going to play a bigger role in Vengeance. And at the time when I was writing it, I didn't realize how hard it would be for me to be the writer, director, and actor. And whenever I'm on screen, Chris Fife directs those scenes, which is fine with me. He's an amazing director. Really helps people get through the scenes. And you have to realize, when I was writing, directing, and acting, I didn't have time to sit there and learn my lines. So I would read the script right there on set and be like, okay, I can get this. This is good. And if I got 90% of what I was trying to say out according to the script, we moved on. We didn't horse around with it, because I'm very hypercritical of myself. Everybody will watch their scenes back to make sure they like them and everything. I didn't do that with Rise of Mortis. I didn't see Rise of Mortis until I was sitting in the community center viewing room watching it with the cast, which I didn't watch any of my scenes, and I haven't watched any of my scenes from Vengeance, and I will probably not see that one until the viewing party as well. It's just how I am. I know a lot of actors that don't watch their own shit. You know, and now that I'm stepping back and I'm the writer, I decided that Victor Barclay, from Rise of Mortis all the way through now to the end of Tribulation, is going to have a character arc that's something interesting, something unique, something that not a lot of fans will expect. And I know I can do this now because I'm just writing the script and I'm just acting. I can go in there and do the things that I need to do. I can learn my lines beforehand. And in Vengeance, I worked almost exclusively with Adam Ewing, who plays Jason Martin, and Caitlin McCauley, who plays Nyssa Roberts. Those were my 2 people that I worked with on screen the most. And a funny story I'll tell you guys. Nyssa had me by the arm, or Caitlin rather, had me by the arm, and she was leading me into a room, and she was going to force me to sit in a chair. And we did it, and she put me in the chair rather violently. I thought she was trying to put me through the fucking chair. So my ass hits the chair, and I sit down, and I just give her this look like, are you fucking serious? So at the end of the scene, she picks me up right underneath the arm, picks me up like she's trying to throw me through the ceiling, drags me out of the room. And so Chris Huller's cut, and I looked at Caitlin, and I said to her, could you throw me down any fucking harder? And she says, we can try it again if you want. I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks. Caitlyn is a phenomenal actress. I tell her what I want, and she's right there. She does it, and she's very good at what she does. So is Adam. Our entire cast was just fucking amazing on Vengeance. I say that all the time, but it's the truth. They were all amazing. They always did exactly what I asked them to do. Never questioned anything. We had some issues with people, but you know what? All in all, great experience. I love making movies, and more on that in the next segment. But I feel that writing as an actor is different than directing as a writer, because, and I'll use Vengeance as a perfect example. When I directing as a writer, it's very difficult for me when things don't go according to plan. And I've said on numerous shows that shit went down on the set of Vengeance, where we had to change almost the entire last 20 minutes of the movie on the fly, on set, the night we were shooting. And when the scenes change, the dialogue changes. When the dialogue changes, it's not my movie anymore. Do you know what I mean? It becomes more of a hodgepodge of trying to fit things together in a way that makes sense for you guys to understand what's happening. And it happened on Rise of Mortis too, because 90% of that fucking movie, and for everybody that bitches at me about the fucking dialogue in that movie, I didn't write that fucking dialogue. That movie was 90% ad-lib because most of the cast couldn't remember their fucking lines. So that's why that movie was so screwed up dialogue-wise. Thankfully, on Vengeance, everybody came to the table reads and knew their fucking shit right off the bat, because I gave them the script months in advance. So Tribulation, I'm hoping that happens where I can bang out the script, it gets approved by Chris, and then we can throw it out to the cast members and they can learn their shit. We won't have any issues. We're going to be much more selective on casting this time. So for me, writing as an actor is a lot easier as opposed to directing as a writer, because now that I'm just writing and acting, I feel I can give more to the character. I had a hard time learning my lines, and there weren't that many really in the first movie. We had one impromptu scene, which led to another impromptu scene. We just improvised it, and myself and Ken Messier, who played the sheriff in the first movie, we did the scene in a store, and I couldn't remember the fucking lines. So they're just like, you know what, just argue with him, just fucking go for it. So we did it, and it was awesome. So we ended up writing a bonus scene for the movie, and because I thought it needed just to pad the runtime a little bit, and I wrote it all out like 2 days before we shot it, and I didn't have time to remember my lines. So I'm sitting there with the script off camera, and I keep looking at it. You know, when the camera's not looking at me directly, I'm looking at the lines, trying to spit them out in an effective way, and it just wasn't happening. So I believe it was Adam said to me, "You wrote this, just tell your story." So I said, okay, and Ken and I ad-libbed that whole fucking scene. And he'd say something, then I'd shoot something back at him, he'd shoot something back at me, and it worked. And I'm very good at improv, because I used to do wrestling promos, and anybody that watches wrestling, again, I'm talking about wrestling in another segment, but sorry, you can play off each other. It's very dancey, it's very two-steppy. I say something, you say something. I say something, you say something. It's just an amazing way for that to happen. So personally, I'm very excited about writing or having written Tribulation as an actor and not having to worry about directing the scenes. I'll leave that up to Chris. I'm going to take a short break, and I will be back to wrap up the show with segment 5. I'm going to be talking about films versus movies. You're listening to the Main Morgue. This is just a friendly reminder. You can pick up Wicked Carnival Productions' first feature film, Sins of Man Rise of Mortis, at bullmoose.com and at Bull Moose locations throughout the state of Maine. Once again, that's Sins of Man Rise of Mortis, available at bullmoose.com. And now, back to the Main Morgue. Welcome back. I've never been shy about admitting that I'm learning filmmaking or movie making on the fly. I have absolutely no formal training, and I never shy away from that, not one bit. And I learned this week that apparently there is a difference between making films and making movies. You learn something new every day, right? So someone asked me in an email, and I quote, "Do you feel you make films that are going to stand the test of time and become classics? Or do you feel that you make movies that are meant for the enjoyment of the audience and have no bearing on the history of cinema?" First of all, to the person who sent me this email, learn how to fucking spell. Because you spelled cinema wrong, you spelled history wrong, you spelled enjoyment wrong, and for Christ's sake, you spelled classics wrong. Get a fucking dictionary. I'm kidding. I'm sorry, that was rude. But spell check your shit, okay? To answer your question, and I thought about it for a little bit before I replied to this person, and I said, tune into the show this week and I'll answer your question on the show. And here is my response to you. I make movies for the enjoyment of the audience. Do I think Sins of Man will become a timeless classic? No. A cult classic, maybe. And I have so much more to offer the indie film world. And some of the things that are coming down the road from Wicked Carnival Productions I think will shock many fans. Of course I want my films to do well with audiences and make a little money. That would be fucking great if we could make a little money on this. My business partner and I, we've worked on the last 2 films over the last 2 years, and we are yet to turn a profit. Yet, we keep at it because we feel that it will happen for us at some point. So, I'm a movie maker. And I'm proud to say that. If you want to classify it as movies are just for fun and the love of the audience and the love of the genre and all that stuff, versus a film is something that will be treasured for decades to come, then I'm a movie maker. And I have no shame in that. There ain't no shame in my game saying I'm a movie maker. I'm okay with that. I don't have to be a filmmaker. I don't have to be artsy. It's fucking horror. It's not rocket science, And still, with that being said, I do try very hard, actually, to make my movies in a way that it's not just a movie. You actually have to sit there and think about it. I like to tell people that I make a thinking man's slasher movie. And what that means is I don't want you to just sit there, pop the DVD in and go, oh, Frankie's the killer, turn it off. I want you to sit there and for the first 10 or 15, 20 minutes, sure, I think Frank's the killer. Oh, but you know what? It could be Sarah. She wasn't around when Jay got killed. And then when the end of the movie happens and you get the reveal of who the killer is, you're going to be like, oh, I fucking knew it. Or, damn it, I was wrong. Because you missed something. Then you're going to go back and rewatch the movie and go, oh, that's where I should have known that she wasn't the killer. Or that's where I should have known that he was the killer. I want fans to watch my movies and get a good experience. To be able to write me an email or hit me up on Twitter and say, dude, that scene in Rise of Mortis was awesome. How did you come up with that? Or with Vengeance, there's a couple of scenes where people are going to go like, wow, this fucker knows what he's doing. And a lot of that, I will give credit to Chris Fife. He would come up with angles and things and say, oh no, if we shoot it like this, you'll get this effect. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. Let's shoot it that way. And there was one scene, and I think it's going to really turn heads with the fans that actually get the opportunity to see the movie, that we shot in a matter of 10 minutes, and it was thought up on set that day. We're thinking, what could we do to make this scene really cool and something that fans don't expect? And we bounced ideas off 4 or 5 of us, and boom, we shot it. So, I'm going to wrap this up by saying that I am a movie maker. I do call myself a filmmaker, but if you want to break it down into those 2 categories and you want to call me a movie maker, I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm okay with being called a quote-unquote movie maker. or a popcorn movie maker, which is fine. I mean, I can't watch movies without popcorn or pretzels or nachos or something. So if you want to call me a popcorn movie maker, you go right ahead. I don't think there's a real big difference. I mean, it's just, you know, it is what it is. It's words to me. To me, they mean the same thing, but to the audience, they apparently mean something different. Again, this is a never-ending journey for me in terms of education. I have learned so much over the last 2 years, and I will continue to learn. I will continue to hone my craft. You know, I don't do this alone. You know, there are a lot of people that this doesn't work without. My business partner, Chris Fife, who also is my editor. He runs the studio where the movie gets edited. He runs the studio where the music gets mixed and the audio gets mixed and the music gets made. He runs the company that produces our trailers. He creates all the music or has people create the music for him through his various connections. And most importantly, this doesn't work. Wicked Carnival Productions doesn't work. The Main Morgue doesn't work without you, the fans. And I know that sounds cliche, and I don't really give a shit. I'm a grown-ass man. I have to say thank you to you guys for listening to this show, for purchasing my movies, for reaching out to me on social media. You guys are what make this all work. And as corny as that sounds, as cliche as that sounds, that's the truth. And I don't candy coat things. I don't bullshit people. The truth is the truth. You can't argue with it. It's like you can't argue with a fact. The fact of the matter is I can't do this show without you, the listeners. I can't make movies without you, the horror fans. So I'd like to wrap up the show by saying a heartfelt 100% from the bottom of my heart, thank you for letting me come into your homes on your iPods or wherever you listen to this show, here on YouTube or wickedcarnivalproductions.com. You guys make the Main Morgue what it is. Without you listeners, I honestly cannot do this show. I cannot make movies without the audience. And all my amazing actors and actresses that have come out and helped me and sacrificed everything they do. Everything they do for me is just amazing, and I'm getting choked up as I'm talking about this. So thank you all. I love each and every one of my listeners. You guys are awesome. Take care, everybody, and stay humble, stay hungry, my friends. I'll see you guys next week.